morning. So I'm like,
Yeah.
it's like, can you guys just give me 10 minutes to drink my coffee in peace? It's like my favorite part of the day.
Nope, get that started. Come on.
Did we satisfy the FOIL request?
Yeah, we sent off the FOIL request to investigative post. No, it was like $2,000 in legal bills.
I know, I live in my relationship after it started. You know how much you love it. Everybody is better.
Where am I? What's going on here? That's YouTube. There's all this for no spectators. Mary, do you have an extra pen by chance?
I
know.
Here's-
You've got 2 pens on you, you're tired.
It's for making notes when you go to the hardware store.
All right, it's 8:30. Well, almost 8:30. I'm gonna 7:30. Thank you. And back to the coffee.
Coffee, bro. Take a minute.
I'm gonna go through the public hearing notice and then we can open it right around 7:30. And then we'll get rolling. We'll go through the public hearing and then we can start at the conclusion of that, we'll start our regular board meeting. Okay, so this is a notice of public hearing of the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency, Wednesday, June 12th, 7:30 a.m. in person and via Zoom. The Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency will hold a public hearing to consider the following proposed financial assistance requested of the agency pursuant to Article 18-A of New York State General Municipal Law. A public hearing will be conducted electronically and in person as hereinafter described by the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency on June 12th at 7:30 a.m. regarding the project as described below. Said public hearing, in addition, the public may attend in person or via Zoom video conference. Members of the agency will be in attendance at the Hamburg Volunteer Fire Department, 301 Union Street, Hamburg, New York, 14075. TNL Beachfront Holdings LTD and ServPro of the South Towns Inc. project request for agency assistance in the form of a lease or lease-only leaseback with mortgage transaction for a total project amount not to exceed $900,000. The assistance contemplated by the agency will include mortgage tax abatement, sales tax exemption on any materials and or equipment purchased for incorporation into the project, and real property tax abatement in accordance with existing agency uniform tax exemption policy and guidelines as amended. TNL Beachfront Holdings LTD, the lessee, and ServPro of the South Towns Incorporated, the tenant, has entered into negotiations with officials of the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency with respect to a leaseback with mortgage for renovation of a 3,000 square foot new construction and expansion of 6,400 square feet of office and warehouse located at SBL 195.12-1-20, 97 Evans Street, Hamburg, New York, by the lessee as agent for the agency, for lease to the agency and lease back by the agency to the lessee. The project will allow the lessee to expand its operations and employment in the village of Hamburg. The agency will present information relative to this project and application at the public hearing. Persons interested may attend and will be given an opportunity to the public hearing to make statements. Also, written comments may be submitted to the agency at or before the hearing. In accordance with Section 859-A of General Municipal Law, a representative of the agency will present a copy of the company's project application, which is also available for viewing on the agency's website at www.hamburgida.com. The agency will accommodate in-person public attendance and participation at this hearing, as well as electronic attendance as per the information below. In furtherance of the provisions of Section 859-A of New York State General Municipal Law, requiring interested parties will be provided a reasonable opportunity, both orally and in writing, to present their views with respect to the project. The agency also encourages all interested parties to submit written comments to the agency, which all will be included within the public hearing record until the comment period closes on June 12th, 2024. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing at 7:30 a.m.? No, we don't need a quorum for public hearing.
Second.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Bob. I'd like to introduce Dan Bauer. He's with ServPro. Dan, could you, just for those that may not be familiar, just kind of introduce like what your company does and kind of your, kind of a little bit of the company history as it relates to, I don't know if it's a franchise or your operation in Hamburg, and then a little bit about your expansion.
Thank you all for having me. I apologize for my lateness last month. I appreciate you reopening here today and having us this morning. So ServPro, as Sean mentioned, is a franchise system. All the franchises are independently owned and operated, and we are has been operating here in Hamburg for about 27 years. Of our business, I generally tell people, is anything gross or catastrophic or both. It's both. We just had a pretty rousing and dramatic story about a 10-story high-rise flood affecting that sort of water damage incident is something that we would handle. If your basement flooded, it's also something we would handle. If there were a vital end or the crime scene cleaned up, we've seen unfortunately a rise in that's something we would handle. A lot of these incidents that are very overwhelming and dramatic, that's when we get called in. So Sean made the remark that maybe you're not the people you ever want to see, but there's definitely people who are in a position to help on this. I'm proud to be in that business. The expansion that we're looking to, as the funding here, is going to enable us to do that work more effectively in a much larger footprint. So the nuts and bolts of it, it's going to allow for additional office space, which will allow for additional hiring both on the production technician side and on the management side, additional parking for a larger diversified group, and additional room for operations. A modern restoration company like ours is often many different businesses in one. There's the restoration disaster response side, where we might be going out at 3 a.m. to extract water, sometimes, etc. But there's other businesses that are attached to that now. We have a textile processing facility, so that we can offer full service laundry to people who's textile, their clothing, if they have a fire, it's affected by soap. We can take everything, launder it, give it back to them so they have familiar items. They're going to be out of their home for a year plus. We have a contents processing facility on site, so that we can pack their home out, clean everything, say take it to fire, get it soot, and return it to you. We store it for you along the way. We have storage capability for that reason on site in our warehouse. And we have a full construction team as well, so that if we were kind of in demolition, we could rebuild it for you. That's the nature of the business. That is the way that the business is going, is to have everything integrated in one footprint, and we really need the ability to expand in order to continue to support that. In addition, as we're looking to expand not just our service lines, but our operation in general, we've looked at expanding the overall footprint of the business. We've looked at purchasing additional licenses to the north and to the east that would allow us within this franchise system to solicit, market, operate in those areas, and traveling for stormwater. We spoke about the ServPros in Florida. That would allow us to travel to other states and provide assistance to those in need during hurricanes, natural disasters, etc. We want, and we fully intend to have that operation live in the village of Hamburg and allow us to bring the revenue from those operations all over the country at that point back to the village. And this expansion, on top of the just allowing us to hire, work, continue to operate, as a business here and give money back to the village of Hamburg, we plan to bring that revenue back as well. This expansion will allow us to do that. So we're very excited about it. We're very bullish about the future. and just having the physical space to operate. And you know, so that's spoken to plenty of business owners, you may be business owners yourself. That material is very important. So I am very excited about this project. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. That's kind of the background from our perspective.
How many jobs will be created from the expansion?
I believe that is, numbers.
I have it here. Yeah, it's in the application there.
Refer to it. So, remember, I'm anticipating, these numbers are conservative. 5 to 10 new production technician jobs, and that includes people who would be promoted to crew chief, supervisory roles eventually, as well as frontline technicians. At least 2, maybe 3 managerial positions, and 2 to 3 sort of operational administrative positions as well. That, you know, the nuts and bolts of it. I'd be looking to expand in sales. I would need an operations manager to oversee both the production and the construction departments to make sure those are integrated. The service centers seamless for folks, and then there's just the administrative burden of that larger footprint operating in different geographies, especially if we start operating in the state.
So that's just a bit different than this page says the achievement of 4 full-time equivalent jobs at the project location. Oh, okay. So that's conservative. What you just said is probably more realistic.
Yeah, that's, and, you know, that's just something that we can go for, you know, businesses, just can help non-business. I can't say that we're going to fill every venture that I just described 100% certainty, but if we did, that would be more than
It's 5 on the
Page
application.
2 of,
Yeah, yeah.
For some, so we're very.
Must be a different version.
Provide funding.
Well,
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to clarify that for public record, this is.
Yeah, okay.
It's weird.
Yeah,
It says 5 on the front.
Don, is
Yeah.
that correct to say that?
Pardon me?
So I just, you mentioned that with the funding provided, I wanted to put it on public record, there is no funding provided, it's a pilot program.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
No, I did, yeah, I'm good about it. That's right.
So this is, yeah, and just to clarify, this would be you know, because this is an expansion project. We you know, we're not seeing projects all too often, but just so to recap, it's their existing site on this SBL will retain its full assessed value at its current assessed rate. They're, you know, doing significant, you know, about $1 million worth of work probably at the end of the day. So that new taxable value will be the abated. So that new taxable value that's coming into the village and the taxing jurisdictions will be discounted for a period of time as the company expands and increases its job growth.
There's not a lot of space for industrial, like light industrial warehouse in the village. It's pretty.
The old Tommy Hamburg Highway.
So the benefits here, there's 900, as I calculate, $964,000 is the benefits, 24 in property, 727 in income tax, 212 in sales tax abatement, 727 in income tax seems a little high. Is that right?
Those are the benefits of the employees working at the site. So like that's your FICA of all the employees. So what you're in terms of incentivizing,
Okay.
what the municipality is foregoing
Gotcha. Sorry,
is the 97,000.
Okay, so it's effectively $175,000 in
Correct.
in savings.
Yes.
For 5 jobs, or 10 jobs on the upside.
Will that effectively max out your footprint at that site? You know, would there be any okay. Okay. Okay, we do have one person online. I'm not sure of the name, but you're welcome to unmute if you have any questions or comments on the ServPro of the South Towns project. we've had no written email or US mail or dropped off comments. Oh, that's a good point.
Doesn't look like it.
No, it may be the Hamburg Sun. But no, I have nothing in the chat. So thanks for that, Jennifer. Okay, for the first time, any additional questions or comments on TNL Beachfront Holdings and Server Pro of the South Towns Inc. project? The second time, any questions on TNL Beachfront Holdings and Server Pro of the South Towns? And for the third and final time, any questions on TNL Beachfront Holdings and Serve Pro of the South Towns project? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing at 7:40 a.m.
So moved.
Thanks, Cam.
Second.
Thanks, Andy. And that is closed. We don't vote on that, right? So we didn't vote to open.
Be a motion and second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Jennifer. I'm all too rusty here. We need to be cranking through more of these. Okay, next is the, so we will go into the regular Hamburg IDA meeting, and then following that, our Land Development Corp meeting. So yeah, on the meeting agenda, we have Mr. Manco, after we get rolling, with some of our regular business, and then TNL Beachfront Holdings will be the second resolution, on the agenda for today. So just so you gentlemen know where we're at. And on the, if you know, you're welcome to leave it at any point. But on the Land Development Corp, we do have 21 acres of land north of the Ford plant, just so you know that it's available for sale. Information on our website, or I'd be happy to provide it to you if you or anyone you know would be an interest in potential land. We'd be happy to talk to those people. Okay, we have roll call here. Cam Hall.
Here.
Bob Hutchison.
Here.
Janet is excused. Thomas Moses.
Here.
Andy Palmer.
Here.
Jamel Perkins.
Here.
Davis Pekulski.
Here.
And Bob Reynolds and Wentz Valentin are excused. And we have Dan Bauer, Dave Manco, Jennifer Strong, and Mary Doran, and one Zoom guest. Next, we'll go with our Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Could I please have a motion to open the June 12th, 2024 Hamburg, New York Industrial Development Agency Board of Directors meeting at 7:42 a.m.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I have as a first agenda item as a motion to approve the meeting minutes from May 8th, 2024.
So moved. Sorry.
Well, you guys are active. Who's getting there, Mary? I'll let you make the call. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Next item on the agenda is a motion to approve the financial report for May 31st, 2024. I can kind of do a quick review of that once I get to it. Okay, so for the month of May, we have we had regular expenses in the amount of, let's see here. We had regular payroll in the amount of $12,503. We had a refund issued this month. This is why the expenses are higher this month. That employee retention credit, IDAs are not qualified. So we were granted the credit. The IRS, you know, we pay FICA. So that's, you know, was my rationale that we should, you know, you pay into the insurance. When it's, you know, called upon, you should be able to make a claim. But evidently, we are like government entities were not allowed, but we are a public authority. So they were saying, due to the fact that we're a public authority, which we clearly are, that we're not allowed. So some clarification came back from the IRS with the essentially the bill to repay the amount. So it was essentially money that we had collected interest on it a little bit at a 5% rate, but unfortunately we had to return it. So that like I said, not necessarily windfall because the agency pays FICA, but that is going back and not existent. So that essentially caused that variance in the expenses. So we had the regular expenses of around $15,884, but then we had the additional refund amount, which was $13,417.47. Overall, total equity remaining in the agency as of May 31st, 2024 is $821,730.60. Can I have a motion to approve? Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Bob. On to questions. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carried. Okay, on to my update. Just go over a couple of things. We had a busy month for the Hamburg Loan Fund, the Hamburg Development Corporation Loan Fund. We have 2 loans approved. One to Lasso's Chicken Barbecue. It's a village business to support equipment at the site. And the other is in the town of Hamburg. It's essentially a workout facility, semi-private training. This gentleman has a new business model where it's kind of like not an open gym, but they deal with more small group classes for individualized fitness and wellness coaching. It's SPT semi-private training. That's located on St. Francis Drive. So the total of those 2 loans is equal to $80,125. So those will move into the closing process with the Hamburg Development Corporation.
Who runs that?
Charles Schmidt.
I thought so. He came from the multi-fit.
Oh, okay.
Right on the corner there.
Yep. Yep.
It's interesting. Okay.
Continuing to work with the Gateway Building. That's still under contract, so we're monitoring that and trying to work with the developer. They have had further talks with the town of Hamburg in terms of going through the planning process and doing site planning. So that is moving forward. The contract was extended, I believe. The purchaser has until October now, at least at this time, to close. We had our main event for Pitch Hamburg was well attended and another successful event. We sponsored 3 new businesses that hopefully will be setting their footprint in the town of Hamburg. One of the members of the first cohort, I will send a note out to the board. They should be doing a grand opening, the Merit Badge Books. Last I heard on the weekend, this past weekend, the company was moving into their permanent lease space in the village, but I'm not sure when the grand opening is. We had on Monday, we had a community workshop for the Woodlawn Brownfield Opportunity Area. So there would be potentially a designated brownfield opportunity area that essentially extends from the northern border of the town along Route 5, kind of in through some people had made recommendations to essentially extend it to the town of Hamburg Beach, but right now it kind of ends at roughly like where Hoax is, where the clock tower is. Yeah, right into that area. So
Did the eastern boundary get pushed more into place though? Because I thought originally
there were comments to that effect. So, you know, it's not locked down yet until the application goes to the Department of State. So there is a link here. There's information on the town's website. So if you do have additional comments, you can certainly you know, get those out there. I would say sooner rather than later, especially as it relates to the boundary. Because, you know, once essentially, you know, that needs to get locked down, and then they'll do an assessment of the sites in the town that are within that area, that footprint. Ones of particular interest to us would certainly be our parcel lies within that. The Lake Erie Commerce Center will lie within that now. The Ford plant lies within that. And then also like Sweeney Steel, Republic Steel, which is I think around 80 acres of a site that I'm sure has contamination issues and has some remediation needs. The brownfield tax credits are kind of, we were, you know, kind of chatting with some of the developers at the table here today about financing issues like those, especially the brownfield opportunity area goes 10% tax credits to, bless you, to 15%. And often that is kind of like what gets these projects to the desired upon hurdle rates so that the projects go forward. And, you know, that like that Republic site particularly is significant, you know, in terms of its footprint. It has a tremendous amount of upside in terms of its footprint, its available power, natural gas. So that site is well suited for potentially some big users that would drive a lot of employment. You know, could be the next largest employer in the town of Hamburg, could potentially be located at that site. The process will probably take about a year before it goes to application through the state till it's designated, but it's in process. So you got to start somewhere. I have a meeting this Friday, the county looking into through our executive committee, just trying to catalyze some planning and some communication efforts with the county and trying to link in like kind of the future of the stadium area site. What's the future of ECC South? What's going on here? And what can we do to, you know, kind of get maximum value for the available parcels there and capitalize upon the benefits that the stadium brings to the town of Hamburg.
No, perhaps it's another opportunity because it was BOCES is looking for 200,000 square feet to put their facility in. If you put that with, you took the ECC South and moved those to the mall, that would take up a sizable amount of that space that's sitting, you know, underutilized.
I hadn't heard what BOCES looking for.
They want to move, consolidate and bring their classes
Like
together.
co-locate
Yeah.
everything. Okay, that's all I have. Any questions or comments?
In regards to that, and policies. Education. There's stuff. Provide pilot program.
Potentially you know, potentially bonding, like the school district schools. We could potentially use the Land Development Corporation to do the tax exempt bondings for those programs. So I mean, it'd be interesting just to kind of, you know, again, like we're the town, BOCES, you know, probably has some control or some, you know, kind of regard to the county. So it's important to try to, like, you know, we don't know, you know, we had a conversation, we don't know what's going on, who's
Right.
doing what, or what, you know, what's the plan? Is there a plan? So thankfully, so, you know, I was able to reach out with someone in county planning, and we're just going to kind of have a kickoff meeting and get, you know, make sure Hamburg's at the table in this, you know, and try to, you know, maximize what's going on. I was coming up Sheldon. If you ever come up Sheldon Road, like kind of near Burt's Bikes, that, I don't know if it's like the elevation of that road going up to Southwestern, but that mound of shale is like unbelievable.
Right.
Like it's like, it just looks like you can't see it. It's like all you can see. It's like consuming. It's a really weird viewpoint coming from that area. It's like, man,
Probably
it's
the highest point in Hamburg.
so, Yeah, you know, we can probably do something better than a sledding hill.
Well, I assume they were keeping that to fill the hole, no?
My different, you know, my understanding was backfill for the current stadium. But
Then we're hearing.
we've heard some comments that the current stadium may be repurposed, like kind
Saw
of
that too.
downsized and repurposed.
Yeah.
So who knows what's going on, I think is where we're at. But you know, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that pile sitting there any longer than it
What
has.
about that land next to Dover College, the old condo stuff?
That site is still owned by Sinatra. But you know, and actually, you know, we had some conversations. I recommended that as potential, possibly like, and I don't know if it would fit or not, but just as an option for the senior center. And then because they were talking about some multifamily on that site as well. But I have not heard from them
I mean, that's
in a couple months.
idle for,
Yeah.
and it's just deteriorating like no tomorrow. And I think that the longer it sits there, the worse it's gonna get. And it's gonna have to have major stuff done. And it's sad to think that that facility, I mean, the chapel that was there and everything, it's just crumbling.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long
Yeah.
ago. It was
No.
in use.
Right.
It's amazing
No,
how it's.
6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
it's terrible.
And I don't know, like they had into planning. My guess, I put on my list to reach out. My guess is, you know, is financing, you know, financing of these, but you know, we'll see if we can you know, try to support them. So,
And going on that, I don't want to have to be jumping that patient, but going with that situation like that, is that kind of going through a strategic plan or the committee's strategic plan of repurpose and reuse and maybe bumping up the pilot program benefits for a reuse program by some green site? I mean, that would be a perfect opportunity. to
Yeah.
implement Something.
no, that's a great point. I agree with
I
you.
think it would be a great site, John, for affordable housing. Making an application of coming back, because we did something similar, we built a site, but versus an old site. One of my attorneys, worked on the building across the street where the nuns moved across the street right there. They brought that to us to buy that site when it came available. It was like $2 million to buy the site at the time. But I told our attorney that we weren't interested in maybe doing a rehab job, trying to recreate that. But looking at it as I drive by almost every day now, it is falling apart with holes in the roof and everything. It would be a good site for affordable housing, you know, where you can get an issuance of credits, and then I don't know if there's any historical value there. I doubt it, but the biggest thing that's occurring right now is the interest rates. The interest rates are driving this atmosphere of building that we're in right now, you know?
What did you say the last construction loan was that for you? I'm sorry.
So our construction loan now we're getting is $11 million from Evans, but the whole project cost is $16 million. And we really wanted a $12.5 million construction loan, and we were only getting offers of 9 and 10. And we finally got an offer for the 11, but in order to get the 11, we had to move every account that we own over to Evans and deposit everything into their bank to get that loan.
And I'm sorry, if you don't want to say it, but
Yeah.
interest rates? What was
We are currently right now 265 basis points over the 10-year treasury note, so probably 7.5 on the construction loans, and it'll never drop below 6.
it? And then after construction, you have to refinance.
Your refinance probably gonna have to use FHA, and that's right around 6 right now.
So not only do the rates suck, you're having a hard time getting just the dollars you
We've
need.
been doing this 35 years, and typically in usually 60 days of you sending your packages out, you'll have numerous offers. We were calling them saying, hey, did you get our package? We didn't hear anything from anybody. And then they finally started trickling in around, you know, Christmas time, and, you know, 8.5, 9, I go, this ain't gonna work, this ain't gonna work, this isn't gonna work. So the question is you're taking more dollars out of your pocket, and then what the turn is, what's the internal rate of return on your investment? Am I getting 10% on my money that I'm taking out of my bank account to fund this? What are we making? Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Because you're better off sometimes to keep your money in other things other than yourself, I guess, but.
Definitely discourages investment.
Well, I always said there's a cap, you get to a certain point. And, you know, construction stops. And once interest rates get to a certain point, and I always believed that was right around 9.5%. You know, because when we first started building, back in 1990, I built my first project. Interest rates were 14 and 5/8,
Right.
14.75%. I was building a condo project on West Seneca. 14.75%. The bills were going to the first playoff game. I sold 4 units that day, and on Monday, the interest rates dropped to like 13.75, and we were high-fiving, you know, at 13.75, you know, so. We made it work back then, you know what I mean? But the other part of it is, the cost of construction is elevated so much, so from last year to now, over here, so our construction is 8,800,000 sticks and bricks, that's no land, sewer, water, road. That went up $700,000 in costs in 1 year, the material costs and labor costs went. And from the year before, another 700, so this project's $1.4 million more than it was 2 years ago, when we were conceiving the idea.
I'm so happy you bring up Dave, because when we sit here and hear about these projects and investments, sometimes we're disconnected from the cost.
Yeah,
Everybody thinks inflation is just a political ploy, but for you, it's very real.
I'm watching it every second. We're buying lumber now. We bought half the lumber for the site yesterday and today, and I'm like biting my nails, hoping that maybe it's gonna drop in the fall, because we're over that first half. We figured the lumber is gonna cost $500,000. We figured 225, well, it come in at 330 yesterday to buy half the lumber. So now I gotta pray that it drops in the fall, or we're over budget $130,000 just on one line item already, you know, so.
That's not a good sign.
And the biggest thing was, I was shocked, windows and doors. Windows, so we're only 55 units. When we were building the apartments 10 years ago, it was about $980 a unit to put in a sliding glass door, a bedroom window, and a spare bedroom window. It's now 3,500 for the same windows that 10 years ago cost $980. Now it costs,
Rents have gone up.
huh?
How much have rents gone up?
Okay, so rents from now, when we started 10 years ago, rents were 850, now they're 1,400. So they've gone up
So they're
600,
corresponding to the cost of stuff.
and we're way behind. Well, we just did an analysis of Hamburg ourselves, us personally. We are the cheapest place to live in Hamburg at $1,375 a month. Our average 2-bedroom rent now is $1,860 in Hamburg for a 2-bedroom apartment. And these new apartments we're building, they're 1,400 square foot houses. So Morano, you know, we sold that hunk of land to Morano on the back. Patio home now. So the patio home, his standard patio home at 1,300 square feet, base price is $543,000. His average ticket price, I gotta say, is right around $610 to $660 or what these people, and their highest sale I think they got is like $710 or $720 for a 2,200 square foot house. So I started thinking, okay, these apartments we're building, if you're spending on the average of 600 and banks are giving you 5% for your money now, right? That's over $30,000 a year in interest. You can put your money in the bank, rent this apartment for $2,400 a month, and still have the use of your money and maybe have a little cash left over to pay utilities. That's what it's costing. So what we're seeing is the people that live with us, our average tenant stays with us about 14 years. That's our average tenant stays with us 14 years. So, but what's happening is we do coffee and donuts on Tuesdays at all of our properties. I start to speak to some of the tenants, and one lady came up to me the other day, she says, you know, you're into my savings. How much is the rent going up this year? I said, the rent's probably gonna go up $65. Last year we went up 100. Now, what's occurring is, because the value of the real estate are increasing, the value, our properties are rising in values. But when the town sees the value go up, what went up? Our taxes went up. Our taxes went up, you know, 17.8%. Our tax bill went up, okay? We also came off our first pilot with the IDA last year. So we finally came off that pilot. So that was an adjustment. And then the other thing is, because the values are going up on the town side, the insurance companies are looking at it and saying, hey, these buildings are now worth another $1 million more. So our insurance went up 34% last year. And I don't know if you noticed, but everybody's vehicle insurance went up a minimum of $300 to $400 this past year, as well as your home insurance and all your fire insurance and all these other insurance values. So out of $100 increase, we netted to ourselves $13 a month. That's what we get out of a $100 increase. On those two phases, on a $50 million investment. Do you know what I mean? So it's not a lot of money. But the upside is, when we first built the property, to now, the property is 3.5 times the value. So really, maybe 10 years ago was the secret, because when we were building those units, we were roughly building them at $80,000 a unit. Now to build that same exact unit will cost you $192,000. That's if you can find the land. That's if you can find the land. Yep, so a road, when we first started, road was $500 a foot. Now a road's $1,400 a foot. And it's going and pipe and water line. So I just got 1,100 feet of water lines, 6 fire hydrants and the fittings to connect everything, $138,000. Just to buy the material, you know? So it's, and then, you know, I don't know. We're doing Parker Road. We're building a subdivision over there. Morano's buying the land from us after we get it, finally get it approved here. And a lot will be, for them to buy a lot from us will be about $130,000 to $134,000 a lot. Time you pay for the land, pay for the infrastructure, make a little bit of money, not a lot of money, a little bit of money. But yeah, about 134. So if a builder's starting out at 134.
Yeah.
How can it not be?
$600,000 or $700,000 is what you're looking for on the end.
No, these lots, no, those lots are now, these lots were, the town requires a 95-foot lot. We lowered them to 75 feet and they're 170 feet deep. That's what all the builders want now. They don't want that big wide lot because you can't fill it. You can't fill it. You can't fill that lot with a house anymore because the house is too damn expensive to build, you know? I don't know. I mean, I'm shocked that just, you know, windows and doors. A door, we used to buy a front door for a house for $163. They're $500, $400 for a cheap 6-panel door now. It's, you know, it's like crazy. You got to shop every day. Shop.
With insurance, I mean, I know on the homeowner side.
Yeah.
Some of these companies are backing out in New York State. Are you finding on the commercial
Same thing.
side the
There's,
same?
we used to be 15 insurance carriers that carried apartments, you're down to 3. That's it. There's 3 guys that'll carry apartment complexes. And in Florida, where we have a house in Florida, our insurance went, so we're in the high, we're like, there's 10-story buildings, there's like 7 of them in our quadrant. Last year, our insurance, they called us and said, could you please send us another check for $5,000 because we're short in our account. So our insurance bill went from $1 million to like 2.8 million that would insure the year before. It went up. Every homeowner had to write a check for $5,000 just to cover the insurance cost in Florida. Yeah. It's, I'm talking to homeowners that have a home in Florida that don't live on the water, they're living inland, their insurance with their flood insurance is $25,000.
Yeah, it's a big problem there. Yeah.
Don't own a house, your insurance is $25,000. Now, mind you, state tax is nothing, but it costs you 5 times more. So every place has its ups and downs.
Yeah.
I have no doubt about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And once we cross the Mason-Dixon line and we get down, let's say we get past North Carolina, because we have a property in North Carolina, South Carolina, but down where we are in Florida, down there in Fort Lauderdale, they got like 38 high-rises going vertical, you know, putting apartments in. They're all rented. And a 2-bedroom rent starts at $3,800 a month.
Unbelievable.
A month. And you say to yourself, what are these people doing? And then the next thing is, even at Mission Hills, I believe in 5 years that 2 people will live together that don't know each other or they're friends. So like a husband and wife. So I just had a situation, husband and wife, the wife passed away. He has a drastic change because Social Security's gone, right? So now we found him a job, you know, cleaning the pool, water and plants to make up his difference for him. But I can't do that for everybody. Do you know what I mean? So my point is that anything that we build any more apartments in the future, they're all gonna have 2 bathrooms.
2 bathrooms.
Right.
A washer and dryer unit, you're gonna share a common area. So if the rent's 2,400, you're gonna write a check for 12, you're writing a check for 12. We're gonna live together, share expenses, because that same apartment now is gonna cost you 1,800 somewhere else in town. You're already $600 a month ahead.
You know, that $2,400 or $3,000 a month. Not many years ago, that's what a McDonald's would be paying.
Yes.
You know, a fast food would be paying that.
So it's makes you wonder, 20 years from now, I mean,
Well, it's gonna adjust, market adjust. It'll.
yeah, but remember, a couple things are never gonna change. The current prices where we're at, payrolls aren't going back.
Yeah.
Taxes aren't going back, insurance is never going back. Will lumber drop a little in the fall? It usually does, but windows are going up. Roofing's going up, lumber's gonna continue to go up, land costs are gonna go up, development costs are gonna go up, so everything is gonna continue to climb. So, just in closing. In 1973, we built our first apartment building for $90,000. 1973, we bought land on Transit Road, we bought 3 acres of land for $9,000. You couldn't be, okay, on Transit, by French to Transit Road, we bought 3 acres of land. Okay, we built the apartment building, and my dad built the second apartment building. So that was $90,000 a building for an 8-unit building. That was under like 11,000 some odd dollars per unit, okay? Now you can't buy the furnace or the meter and electrical equipment for 1 unit for that, you know, so you can see how over time, inflation. And the rents were 236.
Just in my closing,
Yeah.
and this is why it's so important as a board that we go to bat for people. Because everybody looks at taxes as a one-dimensional thing. A pilot program is, oh, but they're saving money. Well, yeah, they are, because they're spending the money, higher interest, higher building costs. It's not like they're putting it in their pocket. And, you know, I got kind of a little bit of grief last meeting from a couple members, and this is all I'm trying to say is that this is the reality of what they are facing.
What Andy's saying is, and I can tell you the math is, so at Mission Hills, because we're now at 1375. It is due because the IDA gave us the 10-year tax pilot. We saved those people who lived in Hamburg their whole life are now saving roughly $400 a month in rent and having the privilege to live there than the guy that didn't do it and move forward. Now, obviously, we committed to go to senior citizens 55 and older, and the program is available. But that's what it did. That's what it's doing down the road. It's giving people a chance to live at least a decent life without chewing up all their savings on housing when they retire.
So it's trickling down. It's-
It is, yeah, there's no doubt about it. It works. It really, your program works. I'm a true proponent of you guys. I brag about you all the time, so.
Well, that makes one.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, it's, thank you.
The taxes people are paying, where's all that money going?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's a,
Hey,
Albany.
that's a concern.
here's one for you. So Mission Hills, we're a senior citizen. We don't have one child, not one person has a kid going to school there. We plow our own roads, we pick up our own garbage, we pay our own streetlights, we do our own snow plowing, we mow all our own lawns. 100% of the revenue from that property has no associated cost to the town. Nothing. It's 100% profit.
Yeah.
100% profit.
So, yeah, and our job here, my job, my charge, I'm bringing the money in. Like, I'm looking to build the taxable revenue. You know, how it's spent is a whole nother.
That's
Not your jurisdiction.
My jurisdiction.
It's not-
But I understand like where these costs are, and therefore, you know, there's a lot of pressure on us, you know, to like, you know, you see these things, you see like the increases going up. So that's why we need to, you know, get not only just to clean it up, but to get, you know, the South Park site, the convent site, you know, back on productive use, back in the tax rolls, like back, you know, working with our available land, working with the mall site, because, you know, the mall site could be revalued again, and that's going to be another negative hit for the town. So what is the IDA doing to, you know, to build up the taxable revenue? So that's what we need to focus on, and helping developers get over the hurdle rate. You know, it's you know, you're putting a lot on the line, essentially everything you've earned to this point at your young age. What are you, about 45?
Yeah.
You know, to get the project off the ground, where it could sit in a bank and you're still getting 5%. So there's a lot of risk involved with development with these economic factors.
Buying the land and we do our own physical work. We're fortunate we're a site contractor, but I've already been there 9 months, clearing it, bringing in 3 feet of fill, grading it, balancing it. You know, we're now getting ready to close by the end of the month with the bank, and we've already got more than half the foundations in. We're starting to frame the buildings. we're spending money at a rate of probably $35,000 or $40,000 a day starting up, next week, so. Yeah, I'm used to it, but for the average guy to look at it and do it, I mean, it's scary, I mean,
Yeah, a lot of risk.
yeah, it is hard.
So, in terms of moving this project forward, I have a name change resolution on the board that will help get the project to closing. So they can get, the project can get its, construction financing and essentially get the project moved into officially the pilot roles, the tax rolls. So I have a resolution of the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency consenting to a substituted lessee to construct, install, and equip 55 two-bedroom senior housing units in a community center on Camp Road, Town of Hamburg, as agent for the agency, for lease to the agency and subsequent lease back to the lessee, and to take other action. Whereas the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency, by resolution adopted on August 17, 2022, to approved assistance for the project and extended the inducement resolution on September 20th, 2023, and again on February 14th, 2024. And whereas the lessee has asked to substitute a related entity, Villages at Mission Hills Phase 4 LLC, as the lessee to receive the same benefits as approved. Now, therefore, the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency hereby resolves as follows. The agency hereby consents to the assignment of the approved benefits from Mission Hills Developer LLC to Mission Hills Phase 4 LLC. The agency hereby consents that Mission Hills Phase 4 LLC is now the lessee. This resolution shall take effect immediately. So moved. Andy, Jamel, on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carried. Thanks, Dave. It's important that you highlight those points.
Your car.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. He's still in. Yeah, exactly.
Dave.
Thank you. I just want to thank you for that lesson, because it's a good.
So we'll have you guys come up to the ground, we'll do a little groundbreaking thing and we'll have Andy come up there, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, get some publicity, you should.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, next is a resolution of the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency. The agency authorizing TNL Beachfront Holdings LTD, the lessee, to renovate a 3,000 square foot warehouse and office and to construct, install, and equip an approximately 6,400 square feet warehouse office addition at 97 Evans Street, Village of Hamburg. As for the agency, for lease to the agency and subsequent lease back to the lessee and further sublease to ServPro, the South Towns Incorporated, the sublessee, and to take other action. Whereas TNL Beachfront Holdings has entered into negotiations with officials of the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency with respect to the renovation of a 3,000 square foot warehouse office and to construct, install, and equip an approximately 6,400 square foot warehouse office addition at 97 Evans Street as agent for the agency for a lease to the agency and subsequent lease back to the lessee and further sublease to ServPro of the South Towns Inc., who will be the sole tenant. Whereas the assistance contemplated by the agency will include mortgage tax abatement, sales tax exemption on any materials and or equipment, and real property tax abatement in accordance with existing agency uniform tax exemption policy and guidelines. And whereas the lessee has submitted an eligibility questionnaire and other materials information to the agency to initiate the accomplishment of the above. And whereas the agency has, after giving all required notices, held a public hearing on the project pursuant to section 859-A of General Municipal Law. And whereas, the eligibility questionnaire sets forth certain information with respect to the lessee, including the following. The lessee desires agency assistance with respect to the project. If assistance is granted, The lessee anticipates retaining 30 full-time employees and hiring another 5 full-time employees at the project location within 2 years following the completion of the project. That the project will result in substantial capital investment, and there will be no adverse disruption of existing employment at facilities of a similar nature in the village or town of Hamburg. If agency assistance is disapproved, the lessee would have to scale back the project, negatively impacting future growth in New York, and that therefore agency assistance is necessary to encourage the lessee to proceed with the project in the village and town of Hamburg. Now, therefore, the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency hereby resolves as follows. The agency determines that the construction, equipping, and installation of the project and the financing or other assistance thereof by the agency pursuant to the New York State Industrial Development Agency Act will promote and is authorized and will be in furtherance of the policy of the state as set forth in said act. The lessee is authorized to initiate the project at a total project cost of approximately $900,000, subject to the obtaining of all required approvals from the Village of Hamburg and other involved governmental agencies, and to advance such funds as may be necessary to accomplish such purposes. The agency is hereby authorized to enter into such agreements as the lessee, to enter into such agreements with the lessee and the sublessee as the chairman, vice chairman, executive director, secretary, or assistant secretary, or other officer may deem necessary in order to accomplish the above. The lessee is authorized to make the purchase of goods and services relating to the project that would otherwise be subject to New York State and local sales and use tax in amount up to $900,000, which may result in New York State and local sales and use tax exemption benefits not to exceed $78,750. The agency hereby authorizes and approves a real property tax abatement benefit structured through a
Probably because you got stopped. Are we live? There we go.
Okay, we're back on Zoom. I know we had just a glitch there. Sunspots. Approves real property tax abatement benefit structured through a 7-year pilot estimated to provide $97,261 in real property tax abatement benefits and resulting in estimated total payments in lieu of taxes. So these are the payments from the project of $24,315 over the term of the pilot agreement. The agency hereby authorizes and approves that the value of the mortgage to be placed upon the facility of approximately $200,000, but that the mortgage tax exemption benefit shall not exceed $1,750. The agency has reviewed the approvals adopted by the Hamburg Village Board on April 6, 2023 for site plan approval. The provisions of the Town and Hamburg Industrial Development Agency for policy for recapture and or termination of modification of financial assistance and local labor policy shall be applicable to this project. The resolution shall take effect immediately and shall continue in full force and effect for 2 years from the date hereof. So moved.
I'll second it.
Cam,
Wouldn't mind.
on the question. Any questions? All in favor?
Well, hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I do want to have some discussion on this. So I just did some back of the napkin math. So roughly 175,000 in incentives for 5 jobs. net 5 jobs. So it's about 35,000 per job is I know that's not a metric we measure, but I just did it. Comparing that with Amazon, we had a little over 6 million in incentives there. And I think at the time of the application, it was 150 to 175,000, 150 to 175 jobs. So it works out to about 35 to 40K per job. So it's roughly the same amount of incentive as we offered Amazon. Amazon, as it's turned out, has committed about $21 an hour for those jobs. So it's about a $42,000 a year job that those created. And ServPro has about 43 according to your application. So it's literally identical per job in incentives for equivalent jobs. Which I think is fine. I think Amazon's turned out to be a pretty good investment for Hamburg and for us. So I don't have any objections. I just wanted to point it out because I think it's how much flack we got for Amazon. I think from some pretty relevant parties. I think this is worth pointing out. I don't have any problem with the ServPro application here. I just thought that was a noteworthy item.
Yeah, we don't like being called not fair when we're,
Right.
we're very fair.
Right.
How we handle these things, so it's a fair statement. I agree.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, if you look at Amazon, they've exceeded what we expected.
Correct.
What they,
And those jobs
Applied
have turned out to be a pretty welcome addition to it.
and that didn't even take into account the drivers that came out there. That was just their warehouse people. I mean, Mr. Bauer here has said he's been conservative and he hopes to exceed what he put down in his application, which would be fantastic. It's another win-win if that happens.
Thanks, Cam, for that
That's a
analysis.
great analysis.
Yeah. Good. It's like you're good at what you do or something.
Yeah.
It's just math. Long division.
I know. That's a calculator.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carried. Thank you, Dan. You got some inside baseball on, the world of development too. So maybe you can get a spin-off business going.
Thanks.
Okay, any other unfinished business? We got the ABO off our back. We got that data completed. We chased down a couple remaining board members, got that off to the state. So we're out of trouble there. Yes, Andy.
Oil, what's that about?
We did have a foil from Investigative Post. If you are the couple people that review their publications, they had an article. Andy, you're rubbing off on me.
Oil request was also sent to Lancaster IDA and Clarence IDA.
Okay, yeah, so they did query, I think, at least the Erie County IDAs and municipal IDAs. Their concern was the spend in attorney fees among IDAs, and then the correlation of that associated firm and their donations to campaign donations. So is there if you use attorney X, is that attorney X donating to the Hamburg Town Board, Hamburg Village Board, that type of thing? So
Like a pass through to.
yeah, I get, it's like the quid pro quo. So
Corruption,
at least the IDAs, locally, have, an RFP process. I've actually, I thought, to the Erie County IDA's credit, they did a great legal RFP. And we've, taken components of that, as we've, gone through the process as well. So we have an RFP process. I think, we get great representation at a fair rate, right? And unfortunately, there, with some of the facts of economics that Mr. Manko had mentioned, there's not a lot of attorney spend. you know, I wish there was more, you know, in terms of, because, you know, that is a function of projects moving forward. So unfortunately, due to a lot of these economic factors, these projects have been, you know, stalled or, you know, non-existent. So the spend isn't there. So, you know, you know, in accordance with state law, we responded, we collated the data and sent it back. And that's where we are, you know, at this point. So that is complete.
Thank you.
Okay, privilege of the floor, executive session. Nothing.
Nothing.
Motion to close, close the Hamburg IDA Board of Directors meeting at 8:29 a.m.
So, second.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Cam. Okay. Aye. Oh, all in favor? Opposed? We're closed. Thank you, Cam. Okay. Then I'm switching to the land corp. Maybe save some bandwidth here with
It's
that.
still on.
We're,
Not broadcasting anymore.
yeah, I think we're done streaming. We don't need to stream.
You're still gonna be representing this, the school for a while.
I guess until they pick somebody else, I kind of have let them know that, they knew that I was not gonna run again
Right.
and, nobody's really shown a lot of interest, but I know they still, the school year doesn't end until July
Right.
1st and the new board won't start until, July, and then it usually takes them at least till August to get committees going, so, if there's another board member that wants to, a sitting board member
Right.
that
Mhm.
is interested, I think that makes sense, but, I also want to make sure there's, somebody here.
Right.
We almost had a quorum issue
So,
today,
yeah.
so
It's
appreciate
important,
that.
yeah, that we
Yeah.
have somebody, if the school keeps you as their, their liaison to the board or.
I
voting member, that's
show
fine.
interest, but, when they redo their committees, they'll probably be brought up again. Actually.
Yeah.
If you want to stay on, maybe you should offer them to be the continue
I
as
guess
the rep.
I'm fine either way.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Well, we're happy to have
Yeah.
you. So, you know, you certainly become more involved with committees and whatnot. So.
You should offer it.
Right.
Maybe they don't want to, because then we don't want to disrupt the town.
Yeah.
We don't want the town, all of a sudden taking a look at
Yeah.
Right.
the roster again.
That definitely is the town would have to take action in one way. or
Right.
another.
Mhm. Yeah, to make the approval. Yeah. Or leave, or we could be sitting without members, right? You have
Right.
problems at other IDAs. I mean, these towns are not helping. Like, you know, we've talked in our executive committee about a number of projects, not an IDA project, but I learned, I don't know if anyone else saw this, but that Alchemy Shores was a project in the planning. They withdrew their application. It was just not
Oh, they
happening.
took completely.
They withdrew their application. So they were, but maybe it was not advancing or I don't, but like my understanding is a message went out either on their social media or otherwise that they're not doing the Shores project. So it's unfortunate. So, and you know, we had, you know, K&H, I got an earful. Kind of this is, then we'll get into our land meeting. I got an earful from K&H because they filed for a permit. That they understood the permit fees of 30 cents per square foot. While the project was in the permit review process, it had to go back to village planning for a variance. So the permit process took some time, but within that period, the permit fees went from 30 cents a square foot to $1 a square foot. So
Yeah.
they went to
$50,000.
50,000 square foot building.
So hang on. So I went to go pick up I'm sorry, like they were going to pick up the permit and it was an additional $40,000 on the project cost. So
For
Joe,
what extra service?
Joe was
Exactly.
upset. We advocated that the mayor was helpful. He was taking calls. He was on vacation, I believe, in London, taking calls. And unfortunately we did, like the mayor and I were the ones that provided the follow-up. And it was not positive. This is relevant for the land corp. The fast forward now, we have the parcels at the Cheektowaga concrete site going on the auction block. A couple weeks after, so Joe had some cooling off time from that point of the permit issue till now. And the first topic he had was the permit and how he was disgruntled about that and upset. And, in the same conversation, I brought up the Cheektowaga concrete auction, and he's like, I don't even think I want to invest in the town. Like, he's like, he was burned.
Disconnect, I don't know.
So, and he is, for better or worse, for good for the town, like he's a principled guy. Like he's, like when he was in his financing struggles, I even mentioned like private equity, maybe you get into some of that. And he's like, I don't want that. I don't want the company blown up. I want to remain in, he has an affiliation that the village has really cultivated in that area. And he has significant investment. We've gone through the plant. It's unbelievable. And now it's because of that issue, which in the grand scheme of things may seem small, but it there was, I think some service response problems and the cost, he, even though grand scheme of things may not seem a lot of money, but it really put him off.
Yes, it is.
So that's, I think that was some of the, some of the kind of like, this shouldn't be an issue because, that's what it is. But we don't know what it takes, how much effort it takes for him to net 40,000 in income. He's competing with China. He's, I'm sure he has a huge loss factor to his products because they're, within thousandths of an inch of, sizing to
And there's an
maintain.
individual that brought a company from Ohio to New York State.
And this is like, I am nowhere compared to that, but my experience with my brother, it's just constant. It's constant. So workman's comp goes up. My brother their workman's comp bill went from $60,000 to $120,000 in 1 year.
Double.
So
Yeah.
how do you keep going as a business in this wonderful state, which I love New York State? If that keeps happening, when your cost of living and your cost of construction, your cost of investment, across the board, every place has its issues, right? 100%. There is no promised land and all that crap. But in New York State, it's like we're trying to push business away. And it's unless you've lived it, you can't understand it.
Yeah.
Hey, just what he's done down there right now, that building. These
Yeah,
walls and
You
everything
can
else.
swing by Elmview if you have time one of these days, stop drive.
I mean, that had to cost a fortune what he had to do there. They
Yeah.
had trucks lined up all the way down the street.
Yeah.
Bringing in these big.
Yeah, I mean, as Lisa in the IDA represented, it was like a $8 million project, I think, or more. So, which is probably more, but, we have, his kind of charge as far as the IDA commitment goes is minimum $8 million. So, and like Dave was saying, everything's
He had to
going up.
bring in
So,
additional fill in order to build that up the way it's gotta be, bring big equipment in there. That had to cost him a fortune.
yeah.
Those were overruns.
So we,
Unbelievable.
even locally, we need to keep an eye on these things. Like, I recognize the value of, a huge component of economic development is retention and expansion, and that was, we failed as a town. The IDA, we do all we can within our parameters, and we will advocate, and we certainly advocated on his behalf. But, as far as the town goes, it's a fail. No, the project's ensuing. However, it was too far. You're throwing the bathwater out with the baby at that point. But what I'm talking about is, I presented him, opportunity for adjacent land adjacent sites and he's, he may come around. We still got till July. But, in conversation with him, he's taking a pass.
Who sets that permit fee?
So
Like who?
the town board. So there was town board.
So they took an action to change the
So, and
They didn't like.
grandfather.
Future, right,
Right.
set a future start date or.
yeah,
grandfather
that was
date.
our, like minimally, that was my, my request, like grandfather, this guy.
But they didn't even get back to you, did they?
So after a few calls, we finally got the answer, but again, like, it took weeks, and you deal with customers and you deal with customers, like, they got a problem and you got to chase it for 2 weeks before you can get them an answer. And then the answer is negative. It's,
Customer email at 8 o'clock. I'm getting anxious that I haven't responded yet.
yeah. No, I mean, in my, I would have been lit up, like if my manager with that type of response, you guys as a board, you light that employee up, like that is completely unacceptable. Well, that's what happened. And that's, you don't retain customers, you don't retain their investment. So, and it's important because, it's not hand over fist doing projects here. So we got to really, value what you have. And that's a big one. I mean, he's probably top 10 employers in Hamburg. I wouldn't doubt.
Yeah.
Brought a lot to this community.
Right.
So, yeah,
He could have developed this whole thing up in Lackawanna.
yeah.
There was a place that he could have.
He didn't want it. He wanted to locate here.
in Hamburg.
Right.
Yeah.
Then the town did that. I'm really discouraged that the town set those fees and didn't grandfather.
Yeah.
Well, it was village or town?
Town,
The town set the fee?
yeah.
Town
We
said
got
that.
it. It took weeks to get back. I thought it was the village. I'm sorry.
Oh,
So
no.
the mayor,
The town.
village
Well,
mayor?
the mayor got, I think the company engaged the mayor first and then they engaged me also. And we were chasing it, we certainly chased it. But that's where it was at. And just to give, though, I don't know how many, I don't know if you have any historical data on like how many permits, because obviously you'd have to be fair, right? Like, I understand that you're a government entity. If this company gets a pass and is grandfathered, then all those applicants would be grandfathered. So obviously there's some work to do to grandfather, but I don't know, is it 15 permits? I don't know in that period, who knows, but okay,
Yeah.
we'll move
And
on.
Explain
The
that
town took over the building inspection function for the village.
for
what,
both villages. So I knew Blaisdell, that if they were that.
Maybe 15 years ago,
They
right?
do that,
Quite a
they
while.
collect all the fees, they get all
Yeah.
the benefits from it. We don't get diddly on it.
Yeah.
From the village standpoint, they get it all because of the code enforcement. It's ridiculous. It's just hard to believe that they can do what they do and they get away with it. It's sad. They're driving business right the heck out of Hamburg.
Yeah, that's,
I wouldn't want to do business with a town. To be
so,
very honest. If they're gonna play games like that, it's ridiculous. Take your business elsewhere.
yeah, I think, if anything with the electeds, we have to be kind of mindful, these reputations, they go quick, my real estate group, commercial realtors,
Yeah.
of the commercial realtors, there's like 60. It doesn't take a lot for a reputation to get around. So, okay. Attendance for our June 12th Hamburg, New York Land Development Court meeting. Cam Hall.
Here.
Bob Hutchison, Tom Moses, Andy Palmer,
Here.
Jamel Perkins, Davis Pekulski.
Here.
Excused are McGregor, Plar, Reynolds, and Valentin. We have Jennifer and Mary here. Motion to open the June 12th HNY LDC meeting at 8:43 a.m. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Jamel. Motion to approve the meeting minutes from May 8th, 2024.
So
Thanks, Cam.
Second.
Thanks, Andy. On to question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Financial report. I'll go over that quickly. We have for the month of May, we had interest income from our deposits in the amount of $3,706.51. We had expenses for real estate marketing. This was the signage at Lake Shore Road in the amount of $1,112, resulting in net income of, geez, I need those bifocals, $2,595. Total equity on hand is $1,699,908.16. Hey, you better watch out in the parking lot out there. When I leave, I might roll over your feet. Motion to approve the financial report from May 31st, 2024. Thank you, Davis. Thank you, Tom. All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Carried. Director report. We had a little uptick in interest in the Crossroads site on Mile Strip Road. We have a potential purchaser I brought to the exec committee. We're going to stay in touch with them. They don't have in what I think we feel is the mission of the agency, like a qualified development plan. So with that Carwell site that's still sitting vacant there, that bothers me, and I know it bothers the board. We want like more of a development plan. If we would go to contract, we would certainly work with Jennifer to have some language incorporated in that contract with outs if they fail to like hit development guidelines as they would discuss with us. So we'll keep them, we'll keep the conversation engaged and certainly provide feedback in terms of what we're looking for and see if we can come upon that. I did have a showing with CB Richard Ellis. It's an NDA type of client, so I can't disclose a lot of specifics. However, they were looking for likely a larger footprint in terms of available land. They're putting up a big building. Our location is nice for them, but the downside of the site is it's probably significantly less acreage than I think the company really needs. So, but at least you're getting tire kickers around, and they're not necessarily tire kickers. They're coming in from out of town to look at our site. So that's good. And I had an inquiry yesterday. I sent off some information, local developer as well. So, continuing to pump information out there. You get calls from the signage as well at the site, believe it or not, in today's technology age. So still keep pushing, but we want a good plan there. We did review the site in Blaisdell, and we would continue to market it to potential purchasers or users. We feel that this time, in terms of like moving our agency, it's just not the right fit for what we're looking to do, for at least the short term. So we'll continue to monitor that as well. There was an addition, 3970 Big Tree, which was Gateway Printing and Graphics. They're moving the whole site to a lease or potential sale. That was Gateway Printing and Graphics. Their pilot had expired long time, a couple of years ago. They have been doing kind of like recreational vehicle storage at the site, and they're looking for more productive use, which is great. It's in line with what we are looking to do, get some more jobs at the site, and it's a good available building. So I'm carrying that on this as well. It is on it's on Big Tree, but it's like kind of like you have the Gateway building, the Gateway Printing and Graphics building, not to be confused with the Gateway building in Lakeshore, and then the CarQuest or Advance site. Yeah. So it's technically on Big Tree, but it's in that Ravenwood Business Park there. We talked about the Brownfield meeting. I have no other comments. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, we have no new business, no unfinished business, no outside entities, no privilege of the floor, executive session. No, a motion to adjourn the Land Development Corporation Board of Directors meeting at 8:48 a.m.
Oh,
Thanks, Tom. Second. Thanks, Bob. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks, everyone. Have a great 4th of July. Put comments in on that Brownfield. And see you next month.